started kind of being curious about what is the role of the body in the digital sphere today, you know, looking at like things like Instagram and TikTok and Facebook's metaverse, and kind of looking at how do we represent the body today in society. And so I became a little bit fascinated or curious about like looking at the representation of body from a more like anthropological perspective, and how these sort of representations of body online affect the way we inhabit our bodies in everyday space today. Like you see kids talking and they just dab, and because they've seen it on TikTok. So I kind of became curious about this question, and then little by little, in order to address that question, we realized we needed to kind of go back in time and through history and understand the representation of body through time. So we did a lot of research, which started in Naples in Italy, about how the body is represented, you know, over there in Renaissance and Baroque and sculpture. We moved over to Sweden and Norway, and so it's been this sort of kind of curious quest around the representation of the body and how that affects our own notions of body today. One thing that was really interesting for us when we were working in Naples, you know, we were looking at all of these like Christ on the cross paintings and the delicacy of the body and the knees and the foot, and we realized like sometimes there's these strange parallels between these images of Christ on the cross and like, you know, images of people on cars posing. So there's this sort of fascination with like the harmony of the body that we still replicate and we still represent. So it was interesting to see that like a Baroque painting of Jesus on the cross is almost very similar as a, you know, person, man, woman, or non-binary person like on a car, because we sort of represent and replicate these sort of notions of body. So it was interesting to sort of see something that is like hundreds of years old replicated today in a much more like contemporary way. One of the very important notions for us was really to queer notions of body. So a lot of the representations of body we've looked at through time are obviously very gendered, notions of the female body and the male body. And what we're trying to do in this work, even if it's performed by a male and a female body, is to kind of explore a lot of those postures or gestural forms in a way that goes outside of gender or that blurs gender. And I think today, where we are in society, we're much more, I mean, depends where, but certain cultures and people and artists are definitely kind of trying to challenge these parameters of gender. And what's interesting about kind of going into the digital is that a lot of communities use the digital sphere, the representation of their own bodies through avatars, to find new imaginaries that can't exist in our society today. So even if the digital in a way is bizarre and it's strange and it disembodies us, at the same time it gives us these sort of portals to find new embodiments that are not possible in our societies today. So a lot of queer and subcultures find new possibilities in their own bodies through the digital world that are then brought into the physical sphere. So it's also this place of futuring or kind of new experimentations that I find really interesting, that is possible because of what is digital.